Guy asked me if I was going to the Fed, and the line just crashed. I'm not going to the Fed. How can I be helpful to this?
So Larry, the Vice President just said that you're thinking about a single mandate.
The strength in jobs and wages is coming from the middle and the lower middle. It's the blue collars, it's what I call Main Street, and the increase in wages, similarly, not the level, mind you, but the increase is much faster than white collars. So we don't have enough data yet, I acknowledge that, but the trends are actually towards reducing inequality. But I will add this, my view, we concentrate on growth, growth, growth. Prosperity without inflation. Frankly, the rising tide is lifting all boats. So I think that's where we're headed. I think the Vice President is, in our own talks and so forth, high numbers on the President's economic approval rate. We have big tax cut package last year. It's working. We had major overhaul of regulations, which is working. We've opened up the energy sector. We're trying to get pro-growth trade reforms through. The economy is booming. The economy is booming. Look at, he's president. President is the president of the whole country. He's the president of the whole economy. His platform was always to grow the economy much more rapidly than, frankly, the prior almost 20 years. And I would argue at this stage, and I respect those who disagree with me, as always, but I would argue this stage policies are working. It's not a question of stimulus. These are long-term structural changes that are going on when you see the rise in productivity, which is so darn important. And I would argue that his policies are in the process of rebuilding the American economy. And I would argue that we have entered a very strong and durable prosperity cycle. It is not election year driven, although I think he will ultimately be awarded or rewarded for his efforts. But this is a strong, durable prosperity cycle from his policies. I think that's the key. Takes out of play some old models, Phillips curve. I don't want to get in a good, stable, strong currency, and I think that's what the Vice President's talking about. Well, look, the talks were constructive last week, and next week will be very important. We'll probably have a clearer picture on that. I don't want to outguess or predict. They're hard at it, as you know. We've come a long way. So next week is very important when Vice Premier Leo Hay comes into town, and the engagements, the discussions will continue on all the key subjects, including enforcement, of course. So we'll see. I think it'll be a clearer picture by the end of next week.
I want to ask you, there was that meeting the other day, and we hear that
there's been some reports that the U.S. is softening its stance on forced technology transfers, state-subsidized entities.
I don't think we're softening our stance on anything. What I think is going on is a very good discussion about all these topics, and as I said, you'll get a lot of clarity perhaps at the end of next week.
With respect to USMCA, your administration has suggested that talks are underway. USMCA.
Yeah.
Your administration has suggested that talks are underway to lift the steel and aluminum tariffs from Canada and Mexico. What's the holdup?
Look, Ambassador Lighthizer is our top guy. He's done a fabulous job. It's the best trade deal I've ever seen, and he's working on all these issues and is working hard on it because we would very much like to get that through. USMCA, Kevin Hassett and I, we looked at this, the International Trade Commission. USMCA could be worth $100 billion in additional GDP per year and maybe 80,000 jobs. Now, I want to say this. Earlier this week, Speaker Pelosi was here with other House and Senate Democrats for very constructive talks on infrastructure, but we also engaged a bit on USMCA. And she has been very good and very accommodative to Bob Lighthizer, letting him speak to the Democratic conference and so forth. I know Ms. Pelosi very well. She was a guest on my show a number of times years back. So I said, what do we need to do this? And she said, stronger enforcement. And we will work on stronger enforcement. That's where we're going to go.
Now that Kaine and Moore have dropped out of the running for the Fed post, does the president have other nominees in mind?
He does.
Can you
We have been, no, I can't, with no names. We have been interviewing for several weeks, as I've said. And that process will continue. And I think we can work that out.